I won't let you!
You only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go.
Hey RWBY fans, it is us, Finite Unlimited, back now under new management under Our Lady Salem. Long may she reign. I am the narrator.
I am the editor.
Now fellow brothers in the Cult of Grimm. So, welcome back after the finale of RWBY. It was a big one. I think that finale episode, in many ways for us, and probably for you guys as well, it was really hard to get all the hard-hitting stuff felt all at once after watching it the first time. It's been a couple of days, and we're still sort of getting over it. We'll get into the first thing, RWBY discovering that Yang's arm is gone, and Blake's been wounded in the stomach and all that.
He's quite spry, despite being stabbed in the stomach.
Well, she wasn't moving much.
I mean, later in the episode, of course.
Oh, that was much later.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started there. Like, half of Team RWBY's out. So was Ren and Nora from Team Juniper. You know, you guys were getting distracting. The other two, the other two pairs from the team were more important. I don't genuinely believe that. Don't hold that against me. The point is that this led up to finally the Arcos ship being confirmed once and for all, without a doubt, at the most pivotal moment. Now, if you go back, I said the moment Arcos was confirmed would be the moment Pyrrha died. Or at the very least, just before. And regrettably, Pyrrha fought Cinder. Like, honestly, how many of us actually thought she'd succeed in fighting Cinder and getting away with it? I don't think so. I'm not even sure what she even thought she was going to accomplish. But she fought Cinder. RWBY did not get there in time, but what really sealed the deal for me is when RWBY got to the top of the tower and fell back into that position she was in when she saw Penny die, and I knew that was going to be Pyrrha's death moment. Like, I love the tone they set for it when the arrow hits Pyrrha's chest and just that gasp of air coming out. That's the part I remember most about that first half of the episode. That's the part I remember most, and the fact that she faded away into dust-like pieces. Thus kindly I scatter. I love that. It's so poetic, but it was so tough. Like, I love Pyrrha and Jean as a pair so much that I knew, like, from a writing perspective, that's exactly what I think we would have done in that position, because there's nothing quite like making the obvious pairing and then finally bringing them together and then breaking them apart for good. Like, that's how you know you're really in love with the characters of a series, is when that hurts you really bad in a way. I think if it turned out that you guys didn't care, like a majority of RWBY fans didn't care, I think the writers would have felt that they didn't do their job right. But I think most of us really did feel very bad about that. Oh, like, I mean, we like, you guys have noticed, we cheer for the Grimm side. we've been cheering for the worst of things that have been happening to these people. But in a way, I'm a little like, feeling a little like Emerald and looking at all of it going, it's just horrible. But I'm still running with it because I'm batting for our Lady Salem side. So, yeah, like, what were your impressions? I was just so...
I was just in the moment, but it was like the reckoning. We saw it coming for so long, and when it happened, it was just more like relief than shock, because we had accepted it beforehand.
Yeah, that was what this episode was so much for us.
Yeah.
Like, we had predicted and anticipated a lot of what did happen in this episode, so it wasn't a shock.
No.
But I suppose we're still going through the motions of acknowledging that, especially the next part. Now, this next part has given a lot of people a lot of ground to debate about, which is what is good about a cliffhanger episode, because it gives you a lot of room to think about the different possibilities. The moment when RWBY realized that Pyrrha was dead and unleashed her power. Now, you made an observation that it appeared to be very angelic. Like, even Cinder was shocked. And some people have been saying, like, this is RWBY revealing that she's a maiden. But we don't actually think that's the case. And there's a couple reasons for this. One, Cinder was shocked to see that RWBY had this power. Now, Cinder seems to be aware of Maiden's powers pretty well. And she said to Pyrrha that she thought, well, that Cinder knew how to use the power a lot better than anyone else. And to see RWBY do that seems like goes against everything she knows. In addition, if she genuinely thought that RWBY was a maiden, she shouldn't be shocked at all. She shouldn't be shocked at all because Ozpin being part of a brotherhood that protects the maidens, you'd think that maidens would be nearby, near him. So encountering a maiden shouldn't be shocking. It means that Cinder must have some inside knowledge about what's happened to the other three maidens, meaning that she wasn't expecting to encounter any. So there's that possibility, and Ozpin, if anyone, would be the one who knew who that was. So there is that. The fact that the power that RWBY used was far greater and more powerful than any other maiden power that we'd used, supposedly by two people who knew how to use it, namely being Amber and Cinder. This is entirely something else, and it's confirmed later on when Crow says that people with silver eyes, and this power has an attachment to the silver eyes, you get it when you're born. This isn't the same as maiden power. It's not passed on in the same way. So this is something else completely. Did you have anything else to add to that?
No, it's just her power was completely overwhelming, and we have not seen a power as big as that. Even Amber and Cinder, Cinder was pulling back in the fight with Pyrrha, should I say. She wasn't using a quarter of her full power.
Yeah, that's right.
Cinder itself was completely overwhelmed and, by the looks of it, disintegrated of some sort. Because she, like, the dragon's there on the top. But Cinder doesn't seem to be said to be there. Yeah,
and like me, a lot of you probably thought when Crow said that the dragon was frozen on top of the tower, you probably thought in the same way, like how Weiss freezes things, with ice. But when you see the silhouette of the dragon, it's still just a black shadow up there. It doesn't appear that the dragon's been frozen in place by any elemental dust ability or elemental maiden ability. This is something else entirely. And as we know with the seasonal maidens, their powers do have a theme to them. They are reflective of the season that they represent. So RWBY is most certainly, and I think we are feeling a bit reassured in our statement that RWBY is not a maiden. She did not get her powers from a maiden. Was her mother, even though she was called Summer, named after one of the seasons, it was too obvious she is not a maiden. And yeah, it just didn't work that way. But RWBY's power works so much differently. So if it happened that way, How then does the dragon get frozen in place? Well, it's possible that the Rosa part of our theory still has a place in this series. Now, I want to bring you guys back to our original theory. If you go back and check out, when we made our theory, we started off by establishing the idea of Lord Grimm, who is now being confirmed through the place of Our Lady Salem. In order to truly argue for the existence of Rosa, you must first establish Lord Grimm, and the series might be doing it the same way as we did. First, by establishing that there's the big bad, Our Lady Salem, who represents Lady Grimm. Now we move on to the next bit, because before there wasn't really any evidence to establish the existence of Rosa. But now there may be opportunity to do so. It's possible that Crow still hasn't told RWBY the entire truth behind her power. After all, she is still very young, and there's a lot to consider the ramifications of whatever's behind that. I don't think it's just a simple matter of, there just happens to be people with silver eyes out there, and they just so happen to have this power.
And destined to be great warriors, just so happens.
Yeah. Again, that wasn't true for the maidens. Their tale comes from the wizard in their story, so clearly the silver-eyed warriors have some sort of commonality as well. It has to have an origin. So, if we believe in our theory of Rosa, then it's possible that these warriors were carriers of Rosa's soul. Crow never established that there was more than 2 of these people at a time. It's possible that some of Rosa's power of carrying Rosa's soul did pass to RWBY after she was born, and that's how RWBY got that power. It may in fact be a family line thing. So it's entirely possible that it worked out that way, and it just so happened that after Summer Rose became a mother, she stopped fighting as much, so people didn't really notice that she wasn't as strong as before, maybe. So there's that way of thinking of it. But yeah, I don't think there's any other real way we can see this, other than beginning to accept that there may be tons of different powers that people have that don't have an explained origin. But given that fairy tales always have some merit in this world, clearly one of them explains it somehow. So, we'll jump off that one. Do you have a thought?
There was a tale of a man of 2 souls.
We bring it back to that. If you go back to our original theory, we did bring that up as well. I still don't think that was brought up just for the sake of establishing characters or anything like that. That could simply be one of the biggest surprises of the series, just like how we realized that Jen Taylor, was it Jen Taylor?
Yes.
Yes, Jen Taylor, voice of the first narrator of the series, also happens to be the voice of the big bad, the same person. So I think the fact that we've established that the writers have blown our minds by making the first narrator the big bad of the series, the first fairy tale we heard about in the series might also be a very pivotal thing. I think so. So don't give up on Rosa yet, and I'm so glad that the Rooster Teeth's writing staff and Monty's vision for all this might still leave room for our thoughts on this. So, and we're still the only ones proposing the idea of Rosa, so we're very interested to see whether you guys still are on the bandwagon with that. But in terms of keeping our theory boat afloat, don't need to now. Lady Grimm has set sail, I think. So we're pretty safe on that one. Also, we got to meet Taiyang. Yes. Voiced by Bernie Burns. I almost recognized his voice right away, but I didn't realize he'd be Taiyang. But it was so cool to finally have Taiyang on the scene. He's the typical protective father. He in some ways he reflected his character out of Laser Team, being very concerned for his daughters and all that. So there was that aspect. But I did read one comment someone had made. I think this is either one of Jake's videos or our reaction. Someone said that this theory is still going around, that Crow's the real father of RWBY. Now, I want to state a couple of reasons why we can't believe in this. One, people were criticizing us because we didn't accept Monty's statement about the main antagonist being a female. I think we had a little wiggle room on that one, but even we were particularly wrong on that one, even though we did give some room as to whether Lord Grimm could be depicted as a female. But Monty also said, without a doubt, that Yang and RWBY are half-siblings, and that Taiyang is their father. So you can't argue that Crow's a secret father. You could in your head canon, but not in the canon itself.
Yeah, not in the canon.
Yeah. And some people said, like, well, it's because Crow wanted to have a serious talk with RWBY, and Taiyang sort of had a moment where he looked at Crow like that. There wasn't some sort of recognition of, I'm her real father, let me talk to her.
More like, I'm going to lay out the truth.
Exactly. I have something serious to talk about your daughter. She's a very important person with a trait that not many other people have. She could be very important in helping humanity at this time. But as a protective father, Taiyang would, his gut reaction would be, I would rather that she's not involved in this.
Yeah.
And especially given that Yang's lost her right arm and hasn't really been that talkative, I can understand Taiyang's reservations. Given that RWBY later ran away, Taiyang's probably no less pissed with Crow. Damn it, Crow! Anyway, gonna say no. Crow is not her dad, but it's good to see Taiyang anyway. And I was really, my heart was really ripped when Yang was so unresponsive to RWBY, and she turned around, leaving the room, going, "I love you." Like, oh, Yang, why don't you say it back? It just hurts. And I'm rooting for the evil side. But, is there anything else we need to talk about? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That the Silver Eye Warriors supposedly could take down a Grimm with a very stare.
It's still all about the eyes. It's all about the eyes. Like, we did have a bit of a beef with some people on the RWBY wiki who had been saying, like, we can't subscribe to any theory that includes the eyes being special for whatever reason. Canon. You can't deny us now. It's all to do with the eyes. And I think it comes back to that old, that quote from the old American series MASH, where Hawkeye once says, the eyes are a window to your soul. So I reckon it might have a bit of an impact there, an input. But, there is that.
So I assume they're talking about lesser Grimm. So if they can, just by staring at them, paralyze or destroy a lesser Grimm, if she really tried, it could be upscaled enough to take down an Elder Grimm, at least to paralyze an Elder Grimm, such as the Grim Dragon.
Well, it certainly did.
Yeah.
Based off what we've seen. So, they are something else entirely, these Silver Eye Warriors.
Also, was Cinder trying to make a Grimm nest of sorts?
Well, when she looked at the dragon and said, this is your home now, it seemed to say that. But it comes back to what you said earlier about Beacon in Beacon Academy meaning something. It's possible that part of this plan is all about acquiring each of the 4 things common to the kingdoms, which is each of them have an academy with a special name, such as Haven and Atlas and what is the 4th one?
I do not remember right now.
Regardless, they all might actually refer to some sort of artifact or thing that is needed. So it's possible the reason why they didn't attack the city, because as we know, well, they did attack the city, but it didn't take it. The Grimm are all focused at Beacon, which is on the outskirts of the kingdom. It just shows that the Grimm aren't necessarily entirely worried about the extermination of man right now, if anything. So that's a priority. The Beacon in Beacon Academy is a priority. To me, it sort of rings the same as an Attack on Titan, where it's inferred that oh my god, I've forgotten his name. Aaron's dad inferred that there was something in the basement that he needed to see. But since the Titans took Shingen Shina, I think it is, you can't get to it. So I think it might have a similar thing in the next volume of RWBY, where we find out Beacon in Beacon Academy is actually a relic that we need to get our hands on. We need to go back and get it, something like that.
But it's Grimm infested.
So not an easy time of it, no. But this also, in the reaction, you also said that the time RWBY was unconscious must have been some time. And I absolutely agree. I think there must have been a time skip there. Mostly because when we last saw Jean before that moment of when she goes to meet him, he's emotionally stable. He seems to be at least handling things okay. But when we saw him last during the Battle of Beacon, he was flipping out after Pyrrha sent him into the city, like to the point where he's breaking his tablet, scroll. You know, he must have taken the time while RWBY was out to handle the loss of Pyrrha. Like, I don't think we can truly underestimate how much of an effect that probably has had on him. But to an extent, he probably has become a lot more mature as a result. And personally, I'm going to predict for the next volume that Ren and Nora's potential romantic pairing might take a step forward. Because I reckon, in some ways, even though Jean's probably not going to hold the leadership position in the team anymore, he'll probably make a passing comment at Ren or Nora, or maybe even both of them, to say, you know, if you guys think that you have the potential to become something more than friends, don't wait too long to do it, because in my experience, when you do something about it, it might be too late. So I'm certainly hoping for that. I mean, Ren and Nora are sort of that second couple that everyone almost agrees on in the fandom, apart from Jean and Pyrrha. So I think that might come up next. What else is there? Oh, we should talk about Ozpin's missing.
Missing.
Or missing.
Missing.
What really happened to Ozpin? He fought Cinder. They were fighting in the vault, and then partway through the fight, Cinder ends up going to the top of the beacon tower, and Ozpin's nowhere to be seen. And as we see at the end of the episode, Crow's got his cane. So wherever Ozpin went, he didn't take his cane with him. Now, this brings back up something that I've been saying in previous reviews. I want you to go back to that point in the episode where Salem, our Lady Salem, is talking to Ozpin almost directly. Now, gathering that Salem is, from what we understand, to be this Lady Grimm, the one who created them, potentially, and commanding them, that she's talking to Ozpin almost on an equal level. And they certainly did in the first episode's narrative, where they seem to be discussing humanity, as if humanity is something that's different than both of them. As some people said in the comments, Ozpin and Salem are the two only characters in the RWBY world who don't have their names named after the color rule naming scheme, which means that they might actually be far different than most humans in this world. As some people say, the color naming rule didn't come into it until after the Great War, which means they are both pretty old. It's possible that neither of them are actually human. We think that Salem is indeed the Lady Grimm we've been waiting for, but we also talked about De Rosa. Does that make Ozpin De Rosa? I don't think so, but it might make Ozpin a child of De Rosa. We've talked about how Cinder and potentially others are agents of our Lady Salem, Lady Grimm. Who's to say that De Rosa doesn't have children or angels walking amongst humanity? And the wizard from the tale might have been one of them. Or at the very least, the predecessor to Ozpin, or equal to Ozpin in some way. Some people still argue that Ozpin is the wizard. But we keep getting stuck on this point that Ozpin said, that the tale about the wizard and the four maidens was around when he was a child. The only way that could be true for Ozpin is if he considered himself to be a child at that time, which is possible given that he might look on his previous behavior as being childish, you know, locking himself in his own cabin, not doing much about the world. He could see himself in that way. Or he's simply another potentially inherited job that he's picked up about not only protecting the maidens, but also searching for De Rosa's soul. Because as Salem refers to Ozpin, she's talking about your small soul. She's referring to RWBY. So she knows that Ozpin has put his hopes in this young girl. It's possible that RWBY is still, as we say in the first place, carrying De Rosa's soul, but Our Lady Salem doesn't take the threat seriously because she considers RWBY not to be that much of a threat. Maybe because RWBY's only carrying a fragment of DeRosa's soul, or she considers that DeRosa is in such a way that she can never be the same threat that she was in the first place. And on the flip side, some people said that DeRosa may in fact be depicted in a male way, since Lady Grimm is in a female way. So it could be swapped, or maybe both are female. Who knows? It's not important, really. But is Ozpin DeRosa? I don't think so. He's probably an agent looking for DeRosa, because that might explain why the wizard gave up on life in many ways. The wizard probably spent a lot of his years searching for DeRosa, and he never found anything. He never found where her soul rested. And this is said to have happened a long time ago. So there is that potential possibility. And when he met the four maidens, he probably had a moment where maybe humanity is worth investing the future in, and maybe they can help take care of themselves until we can find a way to bring DeRosa back together or something like that, and use whatever power DeRosa invested in him to give to the maidens. There's that possibility. Did you have a thought?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about the same lines. Like, maybe he saw in these four maidens the potential and, you know, the virtue of humanity. And they had not they were named, the maidens were named after the seasons. But if DeRosa created the world, she created the seasons.
That's right.
And if DeRosa was a woman, these maidens would look like her children, basically.
In some way, yeah. So, like, I know that some people have said that the last episode hasn't necessarily proven DeRosa or helped DeRosa theory in some ways, but if you really think about it, there are many ways you can see the story developing to now allow for the DeRosa, the god of humanity's entrance into the canon. So we're still hopeful. So Ozpin, wherever he is, he might be where Salem is. He may be elsewhere hiding until the time is right to appear. Because he has this great long-term plan in his mind, he might have justified leaving Pyrrha behind for that reason, or leaving everyone else behind for that reason, because at the end of the day, he has to protect what's left. It's possible he's gone to the place where the other bits of DeRosa remain. So there's that possibility. There's so many things yet to be revealed. Like, what is so good about a series is when they give you a lot of questions that need answering, and when they answer so many questions, they give you 2 times as many questions to ask. So that's the way things are going, and I love that that's what's happening. Now, I definitely want to throw out a thing for the Lancaster shippers. I had made a response in our reaction towards the Lancaster ship. It's probably too early for us, the fandom, to really be thinking about that, because we as the fandom still need to be brought into reconciliation about Pyrrha's death. That's still weighing heavily on us. Like, I'm really going to miss Pyrrha. Even her voice actor put out a little note about how much it's been a privilege. I think it's Jen Brown, who put out how much it's a privilege to be playing Pyrrha, and she still holds out hope for Lisa Lavender, if you remember, as the news anchor. So, not sure what's happening with that. Now we got Jean, Ren, Nora, and RWBY in a team together, Team Ranger, as many people have dubbed it. I think that one works very well.
Because it also elaborates their mission. They're going beyond the reservation.
That's right, and they have to get to the other kingdom, Mistral, the hard way. They have to range through the wilderness over across. So it makes sense. It's not part of the color naming rule, but it still works. I think the RWBY team might respect that. Yeah, you could go Ranger Green, so I might be wrong on that. But anyway, I think it works. I think it sounds wonderful. And Crow's semblance is literally revealed to be transforming into a crow. That explains how he gets everywhere.
We don't know actually if it's a semblance or...
Maybe he's just not human. Oh, that opens up so many doors.
Anyway, we don't know if it's his actual semblance, but yes, he can transform into a crow regardless.
He may not just be human. Who knows? There's so much up for debate right now. But I'm so glad in some ways to see that our prediction that the RWBY team was going to split up did in fact happen. But I also think that's part of what's going to be necessary for Team RWBY to grow individually for a little while. They might still get back together, or they might go the way of Team Stark and sort of go on their own tracks. But there's still that teammateship that they still have. They'll still see each other on the way. I still think they might do things together, but because of what's happened, it might be very hard for them to get back together. But literally the story can go any direction right now. We've had a volume that's been based on a lot of bad things happening. So there's no guarantee that that's going to change anytime soon. Some good things might happen, but don't take those for granted, or don't expect that that's the only way it can go from here on out. So, did we miss anything, I think?
That's about it.
That's pretty much it.
Except for our dumb faces when we're listening to Salem.
Yeah, oh, loved it. And, oh no, there's a couple more things. One, I forgot one. Oh, one is, where's Cinder? She was caught in the same blast that hit the dragon. Is Cinder frozen in place up on top of the beacon tower? Or she escaped somehow? And two, there's one thing that concerns me. Salem wears a cape a lot like Glenda Goodwitch's. Now, Salem is not a very subtle way of naming a character with links to witches, the Wicked Witch of the West. So, does this character have any relation to Glenda? If she does, that throws a ton of more questions into the mix and makes things a heck of a lot more confusing. So, not sure how far I'm willing to go with that. But even if this Salem happens to be a sibling of Glenda, it means that this Salem may not be the creator of the Grimm, which does throw a wrench in things. But even if that's the truth, there's nothing to say that Lord Grimm or Lady Grimm is possessing the body of a dead Salem. Mostly because in the manga it confirmed that Grimm can in fact be made to possess inanimate objects or otherwise inanimate objects. So there's that real possibility that Lady or Lord Grimm just doesn't manifest a body as it were, but simply takes over those who happen to be powerful or things like that. So there's that as well. Also, where is the council? The council hasn't shown up at any point during this whole attack on Vale. Are they still in the city? Because it doesn't look like they're doing anything for this Vale citizens. Or don't you just love government?
Yep.
The council, in our opinion, the council probably fled the kingdom. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all for us for the moment. Blake's run away. She's probably partly out of shame. I think she considers the fact that Adam came back and hurt her and hurt a friend of hers really badly. She probably blames herself a great deal for letting her past come up to hurt her friends. And she's probably going out to deal with that herself. Yang just feels betrayed by all that. You know, she wants to work this out as a group, not to let, and the fact that Weiss also left because of her father, she probably feels that the team has abandoned her, which doesn't do any good for her mental well-being. So you got to feel for Yang there. And Crow's going to be looking over the group as they go to Mistral. Yeah. As we expected, Mistral is the place where things are going down, and apparently bad things are going down there as well. So we might see more of the White Fang and Adam there. Blake will probably be there. Don't know how Weiss will get back into this, but she probably will somehow.
Let's make a super team.
Well, since the Academy's broken, you probably don't need the same conventional makeups of teams anymore, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, if you like our review...
Where are the rest of the huntsmen? That's what I want to know.
Dead. Anyway, if you like our review, please like, comment, subscribe. We're still got a couple things we're thinking about doing over the off-season. We might even look at a couple other things that Rooster Teeth is making. But things are sort of up in the air right now. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you have any thoughts about the finale, anything that we might have missed, we might even do a feedback episode after this review to engage with some of the things that we have missed. Please leave them in the comments. We're thinking of doing a collab with some of the other members of the RWBY Theory community. We're still figuring that out, but keep an eye out for that, and hopefully we'll be able to put something together. So, that's it for Volume 3. Things are looking hopeful for Finite Unlimited and our theory engine.
A whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, and it's been so good to see a lot of the things we've been calling coming together. So, stick with us, and the theory boat has set sail.
Long may it rain. Long may she reign.
All hail Our Lady Salem. Catch you next time, guys.
Pew, 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 pew.
If you think that your little friends can escape me, you're sadly mistaken. This time you won't come back.
Krillin, no!
Krillin!
Frieza, stop this!
Help me!
A smaller, more honest soul. It's true that a simple spark can ignite hope, breathe fire into the hearts of the weary. The ability to derive strength from hope is undoubtedly mankind's greatest attribute. Which is why I will focus all of my power to snuff it out. How does it feel, knowing that all of your time and effort has been for nothing? That your guardians have failed you? That everything you've built will be torn down before your very eyes? Your faith in mankind was not misplaced. When banded together, unified by a common enemy, they are a noticeable threat. But divide them. Place doubt into their minds. And any semblance of power they once had will wash away. Of course, they won't realize it at first. Like you, they'll cling to their fleeting hope, their aspirations. But this was merely the first move. So you send your guardians, your huntsmen and huntresses, and when they fail and you turn to your smaller soul, know that you send her to the same pitiful demise. This is the beginning of the end, Ozpin. And I can't wait to watch you burn.